Let's go. It was only me and the gang. Yeah, we back, boys. We back. I was fucking around. All of a sudden they all wanna trap, drill, sing and shoot. In the beginning, it was only me and the gang. Introduced this country to drilling. All of a sudden they all wanna bang. All of a sudden they all wanna trap, drill, sing and shoot. All of a sudden they all wanna trap, drill, sing and shoot. These gonks and earners spot in this game. We make moves all day while I wave. There's too many funds that we've got the distance and knock them back in their place. Don't get leafy bars and I say bridge up, you see the wrist that I'll take. What's ones that he drilling the most, that's why there's some of us in that cage. If you wanna stop me, come and knock me. 27 gang, we're drilling them properly. Them boys there be doing it softly. They hate but then they all copy.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All streams are good. We're chilling. Bring this up. Let's get into it, boys. Let's get into it, right? Today we're going to learn about PayPal, the PayPal Mafia. Kind of how they started up, what drove them to start this, who's involved, who's part of the PayPal Mafia, and where are they nowadays? Some very prominent names you probably hear in the news all the time. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. So these are two guys from the PayPal Mafia. There's two of them. There's multiple. I don't know how many there is actually, but there's quite a few from what I've seen from my research, right? And again, if the shit don't sound right, if you guys can't listen to the video or anything's wrong, just type it into the comments. Let me know, please, so I can fix that as quick as possible. You know.
No ordinary company, and this is no ordinary story. On the one hand, this is one of the most inspiring tales you'll ever hear.
Okay.
How a small group of people in their 20s with no real finance experience went up against big banking and revolutionized the way we send money.
Perfect.
But there's also a very dark story here. How a company that promised so much has ended up ripping off its own users and being involved in countless scandals. There are very few companies with as many horror stories and unhappy customers as PayPal. This is also a story about how PayPal faced fraudsters, gave away free money, nearly went bankrupt, and on multiple occasions hatched a secret plot to overthrow their own CEO. And yet, despite all of this controversy surrounding the company, hundreds of millions of people use PayPal every day to send money around the world. And the team behind PayPal...
I mean, let's be realistic, guys. Is there any large corporation that exists today that's making serious amounts of money that doesn't have a kind of, you know, messy history? In business, you gotta do some shady shit sometimes, you know? Businessmen are not the best people at all times. And that's known. That's known. That's nothing crazy, right? I think every major corporation has some skeletons in its closet for sure. There might be a few that don't, you know, but very, very few that don't.
PayPal have come to be known as the PayPal Mafia, a network of powerful billionaires who are behind so many other huge internet companies, which means there's an extreme amount of power in the hands of a very small group. So it's time we delve into the truth.
Get into it.
To the insane true story of PayPal.
What's going on, Braden King? What's up, brother? How's it going? You ever use PayPal, man? I ain't gonna lie, I've never really used PayPal. I think I have a couple of times because I had to, but I'm personally not huge into it.
Max Levchin was only 10 years old when the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded.
Oh, Chernobyl.
He was in his house sleeping just 90 miles away. And as a Jewish family living in Soviet Russia, life was hard for the Levchins.
I believe it.
So when the Russian economy started to decline in the late 80s, Max's family feared the worst and immigrated to the United States in 1991. In the early 90s, Max became fascinated with a gift.
That wasn't that uncommon back then, right, for Russians to be moving to America because they saw exactly what was happening in the Soviet Union. They were like, you know what, let's bail ship. And we got some cool Russians over here. I like a lot of them. Their work ethic, their mentality. Very hardy people, you know. I get along well with the Mexicans, that's for sure.
He received an early computer system. Max taught himself how to write and develop programs for it. And throughout college, Max explored ways to use the internet to improve his own life and the life of those around him. Together with some friends, Max wrote and sold 2 separate computer programs, and in 1998, using the money he made, Max moved to Palo Alto in California. Max was hoping to build his own internet company, and this was quickly becoming the hub for young, tech-minded people wanting to capitalize on the dot-com revolution. But one day, whilst trying to escape the intense California
Adrian
heat,
said hi.
Max attended
I
a
didn't see
lecture
it.
so he
It's
could
not
have a
showing up over
nap
here.
in the
Apologize
air-conditioned
for that,
lecture
brother.
hall. Except,
My bad.
instead of getting some sleep, Max was riveted by the lecturer, a guy called Peter Thiel. Peter was already moderately successful in several fields. He was a startup founder, a hedge fund manager, and now an investor in tech startups. So after the lecture, Max...
So that's what he was doing before. He already was semi-successful. All right, let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. But I really want to get into these people's stories and understand where they are coming from. I want to get a good perspective on that because I've heard of the PayPal Mafia, but haven't really gone into the lore, right?
Cornered Peter and explained that he wanted to build a tech company. Peter's eyes lit up. The two of them arranged to meet for breakfast the very next day to discuss Max's ideas. During the breakfast, Max talked while Peter listened politely, but then Max started talking about writing programs for the Palm Pilot, which was the first popular handheld computer. It seems very primitive now, but at the time, there was a lot of excitement around this little device that could store your contacts, notes, and calendar. Max explained how creating new applications for Palm Pilots was an untapped market, and that was exactly what Peter wanted to hear. Peter believed in Max's technical skills and funded his first idea for $100,000 in 1998. Using Peter's money, Max...
That's 1998 money. That's a lot of money.
Founded a company called FieldLink, which would offer security for these Palm Pilot devices. Peter and Max both had big dreams for this business. However, they soon realized that their idea was completely flawed. The market for mobile security didn't exist yet. There were simply not enough customers. Not just that, but they soon realized the Palm Pilot's parent company had already partnered with another business for their security needs. FieldLink had to change its business strategy immediately. But Max and Peter were still both convinced that mobile computer devices like this were the future. So they began to consider what else they could develop for the Palm Pilot.
So they were early into the game, you could say.
What if you could use the Palm Pilot to send and receive money? And thus, they decided to launch a mobile wallet for Palm Pilot that would allow users to send money to each other using the device's infrared ports. Infrared ports allowed wireless transfer of data between two devices within a 10-meter range. And at a time where most people still relied on cash and checks, the idea of...
Do you guys know about cash and how little cash there actually is in the world? It's ridiculous. I think 3% of the money in circulation is actually real money, like cash money, and the rest is just digital, into the ether. That's crazy to me. Money is fake. Money is not real. When I learned that, that's one of the first things that like threw me off. I was like, whoa. So most of it is fake? That's crazy, you know? That's insane to me.
Beaming money to each other sounded impressive.
Where did I learn this?
So
it was from a book, The Lords of Easy Money. Also, the book goes into and how much money was printed during COVID. Trillions upon trillions of dollars printed during COVID. And I mean, inflation is just going to get worse because you don't feel the printing of the money effect immediately. It takes years for that to take effect to the market. That's still what we're seeing. Groceries are still going up. Everything's still going up. Inflation is going insane. So I think we got to buckle up, boys, for sure. We got to buckle up. We got to be smart with our finances and pray to God. Because that's one of the few ways forward, right?
Now that they had this new idea, FieldLink changed its company name to Confinity, a mixture of confidence and infinity. As for their money beaming program, they came up with a bunch of name ideas. eMoneyBeam, Zappio, Momo, Cachet, but they eventually settled on PayPal, which had a nice alliteration to it and could easily be used as a verb, like saying, just PayPal me. So with the business idea and name both sorted out, Peter and Max started recruiting. Although most of their hires were people they knew from college. The average age of their employees was just 25.
That's young.
But this camaraderie would later be crucial to
I'm turning
PayPal's
25
success.
and I still want to say I'm
Peter
young.
also knew that investment would be critical for a young startup like Infinity to sustain itself in the initial years. Fortunately, the dot-com boom was at its peak and
has been investing into companies for a while now, from what I can tell, because obviously did it with PayPal. Excuse me, and they were saying that he was already successful a couple years prior and had started doing this. So think PayPal, he did that investment, ended up paying off for him. Right now, what does he have? He has Palantir, and he's been behind a couple other huge companies. I don't know specifically what they are. I need to get into that as well. Maybe it goes into it in this video, and we gotta get insight into that. That would be perfect, you know.
There was no shortage of cash in Silicon Valley. With a better business plan, Nokia Ventures agreed to invest $4.5 million into their money-beaming idea. This investment allowed them to hire more people and set up a proper office. But Peter also realized it was a great opportunity to generate media headlines. So rather than Nokia just transferring their investment to Confinity's bank account, they staged a publicity event where in front of the press, Nokia would wirelessly beam the money onto Peter's Palm Pilot. Not only would this make a great news story, it would show the world the potential of Confinity's idea. The plan was good in theory, but the reality was the technology was still unpredictable. The infrared transmitter was notoriously buggy and unreliable.
That's trash.
So just days before the event, Max and the team pulled all-nighters to code and repair the 2 Palm Pilots that would be used during the announcement.
That's insane.
If this payment failed, people would completely lose confidence in the concept before they'd even started. But thankfully, the money transfer worked. And it seemed people loved the idea. Well, except for one man. Sitting in his office, this man watched the news story about Palm Pilot money transfers and said, "That's a dumb idea. They're doomed." And that man was Elon Musk.
Why does it look like that? Was it a young Elon Musk or what? That's weird.
Guys, before we get to the next chapter, I have some very exciting news for you.
What is it,
For a
bro?
while now, I've been getting a lot of questions, such as, how are Magnates Media videos made? How do you edit like this? Or hire an editor who edits like this? How do you write the videos?
Skip, bruh.
Oh yeah, even along this every year's learning I have because I
the
like
guy's videos,
researching
but check out
them
his
to
channel,
this
bro.
step. So you can make, seriously,
trying to
how
watch the
instant you can
ads.
do it from, once you know how earning you passive, you made over make videos like this though. I'm certain you're gonna love
passive
it. So
income, I
just
think
scroll
it's
to the description
scam.
now and click the course link.
Say real
I'll
estate's
see
a
you
good
there.
passive income. It's a lie. It's all a fucking lie. It's all a psyop.
It was 1999 and Elon Musk had just sold
Whoa.
his first internet company called Zip2,
2
earning him a
years till
personal
I'd be
payout
born.
of around $22 million at just 27 years old. But to Elon, this just meant he now had more money to invest in a new business that was much more ambitious. He wanted to overhaul the entire financial system.
Makes
You
sense.
see, before starting his own business, Elon had
A lot of
interned
money
at
in
a
the
bank and had
financial
witnessed
system,
firsthand how
literally.
little banks seemed to be innovating. Banks were tied up with expensive, outdated systems that made transactions extremely slow. Most people
this
still
day.
relied on sending checks by mail, which was extremely slow and inconvenient. But Elon
is
felt
the
the
best
internet was going to enable all of that
for
to
transfers.
change. And since the banks didn't seem to be doing it, he'd do it
Except
himself.
onboarding and offboarding.
Elon
This just
saw
still
a future
sucks.
in which all of our financial needs were met by
To this
one
day.
single platform. He wanted to build a company that would offer savings and checking accounts, loans, insurance, mortgages, lines of credit, mutual funds, and even stock trading, all in one place and all connected to the internet. And thus, Elon named his new business X.com, as he felt this encompassed the idea of a digital superbank that would do everything. Elon then invested the majority of his Zip2 money into this new company. This was very uncommon in Silicon Valley, where most entrepreneurs rely on investors. But after being sidelined by investors in his previous business, Elon was determined to keep full control this time around. And putting his own
That's
money in
understandable,
also had a
you know.
positive effect, as it showed everyone just how much Elon believed in the idea. But despite the hype and plans to change the world, X.com looked like it might be dead before it had even begun. Many believed integrating every financial service under one company would be a regulatory nightmare. In fact, it was actually illegal. At the time, there was the Glass-Steagall Act, which banned the merging of retail banking and investment banking. However, Elon believed he could ignore these restrictions and regulations for the time being. He told his team, "We shouldn't be afraid to break a few eggs along the way." Elon would end up firing most of the original executives on the team who didn't think his vision was possible. Elon then hired Bill Harris as CEO, as he'd
This
been the
just all
former CEO
sounds
of
like
a successful financial
Elon
software company.
things to
He
do,
also began
especially-
expanding his software development.
Especially now that he's been in the limelight for quite a couple years now. I mean, do we expect anything else from the crazy man? He is insane. Has he become incredibly successful in business in multiple areas? For sure. Has he made good bets with his money? For sure. Does he have a great work ethic? Yes. Is he crazy? For sure. A little bit of autism? 1000%, bro. You know? How do you say he doesn't have a little bit of the tism? He definitely has a bit of the tism. But I think in the recent FBI Epstein files, he was named on there. He had a few emails with Epstein. He was like, "Let me go to the island." Yeah, it's a little weird, bro. Why want to go to the island? I mean, who even knows if that's true? Maybe that's AI, right? It's hard to tell these days. But Weird guy. You can definitely say he's weird, for sure.
Team, and soon enough, the X.com product began to take shape. X struck a deal with Barclays Bank that allowed its customers to invest in mutual funds. Another agreement with a community bank meant X.com could now issue checks and print its own debit cards. And this meant if you had an X account with money in it, you could withdraw cash at an ATM. And thus, the X.com website finally went live on November 25th, 1999. Because of all the regulatory issues and red tape, it was nowhere near the all-in-one financial services hub that Elon was envisioning, but it was a start.
Right.
However, in 1999, X.com was renting a small office suite at 394 University Avenue in Palo Alto, overlooking a bakery. And in a crazy coincidence, Confinity was occupying the adjoining office suite. These two companies, both looking to revolutionize online payments, were literally neighbors. Employees from both companies saw each other all the time. They often bumped into each other at the entrance to the building or in the restrooms and parking lot. And just like Confinity's—
This is exactly the lore I'm trying to get out of the PayPal Mafia. How do these people meet? How did the relationship develop? Etc., etc. I want to get to know the meat and potatoes of what really happened in the uprise of this organization so I can really wrap my hand around it. Right?
PayPal app, X was also planning on letting users instantly transfer money to other users. Although it's important to note, this was just a tiny fraction of what Elon had planned for his company. What's really interesting though, is that at first, these two companies didn't even think of each other as competitors. Confinity was developing their PayPal app for Palm Pilots, and X.com was trying to become a digital superbank offering different financial services. It seemed they were on very different paths. And secretly, both companies thought their neighbors were on the completely wrong path.
Generally in the
Max and Peter were convinced Elon's vision for X would face way too much regulation, whilst Elon felt money beaming on Palm Pilots was a dumb idea. So neither company could imagine that in just a few months, they would be bitter rivals trying to crush each other.
Interesting. Come on, bro. She's getting too slow. I need the dopamine. Email
the new
payments.
story about beaming money from one Palm Pilot to another was exciting. But the publicity didn't get that many people actually using PayPal. There were obvious flaws with the idea, like what if you left your device at home? And not just that, the majority of people didn't even have Palm Pilots.
Who doesn't have their device with them at all times now? Everybody is constantly with their device. We're all addicted. People aren't addicted. Props to you. You know, you're a rare exception of a human being, because that is insane to not be addicted to modern technology nowadays. It literally hijacks our fucking dopamine system. And we have really no say into it, besides how much time we decide to spend into it. The more time you spend with the addictive thing, the more addictive it is. But how do you avoid the addictive thing if everything's on it? All my phone calls are on it, all my emails are on my phone, etc., etc., etc. It's quite a conundrum. It's quite a conundrum. What are we gonna do? Fuck it. We ball.
So, in a late-night brainstorm to try and solve these problems, Max casually threw out an idea. What if on the PayPal website, you could also send money to someone's email address? In his mind, this was nothing more than a temporary solution until they found a better option. Certainly nobody thought this would be a core feature. It was simply meant to be a safeguard for people who forgot their Palm Pilots at home. Then something interesting happened. Within a few weeks, everyone was using the PayPal email feature much more than their Palm Pilot system. Because anybody could sign up to send and receive money using just their email address, no specific device was needed. And that same year, more Americans chose to send emails than actual letters. And so it soon became clear that sending money via email, rather than using Palm Pilots, was actually way more useful and popular. PayPal could ride the wave of people adopting email.
Gold.
So what had intended to just be a backup
what every entrepreneur wants.
Was an instant hit with consumers. PayPal began gaining thousands of users, and this led the team to realize they needed to focus purely on email payments, not Palm Pilots. However, in another crazy coincidence, almost the exact same time, in the same building, and facing the same problem of acquiring more users, Elon Musk and X.com were coming to a very similar conclusion. Elon Musk was not remotely excited by
That's not him. Elon Musk doesn't look that muscular and jacked. He's a weird alien shape. Everybody knows this. No shade, right? But I mean, everybody knows he's shaped like a fucking alien.
He said, it's trivial to do a money transfer. It's
literally
literally moving numbers in a database. It's super dumb.
I don't believe that.
My kid made one and he's 12. And yet, Elon would tell people about all the other financial services X.com was working on, but it was always the simple email payment part that everyone seemed interested in, which was the easiest part of what they did. And so, just like the PayPal team, Elon had not set out to focus on email payments. It was meant to just be a small side benefit, but the market clearly preferred this to any of their other features. And so, X.com also began to focus more on sending and receiving payments via email. And thus, in late 1999, these two companies in neighboring offices, each with a very different original business plan, had accidentally stumbled into offering the same service, sending and receiving payments via email. And this would begin a bloodthirsty battle that would change banking and the internet forever.
But what happened though? It's too slow, man. I need the dopamine hits. I get it.
Both companies knew the online payments market would only have one ultimate winner, because they both understood one of Silicon Valley's most prominent principles, the network effect. The more people in a network, the more valuable that network is. Everyone wants to use the most popular network, as that's the one where you can connect with the most people. So both companies were willing to throw money at customers in a race to build the largest payment network. The battle was on.
Makes sense.
And customer growth became the #1 priority for both PayPal and X.com. To get more customers, both companies offered a version of the same incentive. Refer your friends and we'll literally give you free money. PayPal offered $10.
Apps still do this constantly. Like all the new apps are like, oh, refer a friend, and we'll give them a nice deal, or we'll send you something as well. Trash. Trash. Chat rate. I know one's chatting, bro. YouTube's going crazy telling me my chat rate's doing whatever. Ain't nobody even chatting, bro. Nobody's in the chat.
If you signed up, and an extra $10 if someone you referred also signed up. So X.com went one better, offering $20 per new sign up, plus $10 for the referral. Handing out free money like this was an interesting tactic to get customers. Or as Elon later said, it was a race to see.
I don't know why it's being weird. So in the actual YouTube chat, nothing pops up for me. When it's a video on the PayPal Mafia. That's what it is, bro. PayPal Mafia. It's getting to know who the founders are, how they started doing all this, and how they progressed. Because I don't know if if you heard about the PayPal Mafia, but they are very influential in today's world, especially in America, especially Elon Musk, especially Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, all these big guys. Yeah. I'm mainly doing it because I'm interested in the topic and I want to understand where they're coming from, kind of maybe what their vision is. And I hadn't delved into it. And I love to do this on streams because I get to talk about it, which ingrains it into my head. I get to learn better, and hopefully the viewers, do the same along in the process, and they're able to learn the information better. Because for me, the dialogue itself is what helps build that connection in my mind. Some people learn differently, but this is great for me.
Who would run out of money last?
Appreciate that.
Both companies' chief financial officers were initially horrified by this plan. Surely it was a bad sign if they had to pay customers to sign up rather than customers paying them. But of course, paying people to join and then paying them for referring others was a very effective way to get a lot of users quickly.
Obviously.
Because by rewarding both the person making the referral and the friend they were signing up, it became a truly viral marketing campaign for both companies. However, although both companies saw an increase in users from this, they still both needed a clearer use case, instead of people just using the service to get the free cash bonus. And little did they know that their services had already become popular with an unexpected user base. The auction website, eBay.com.
That is true.
By 2000, eBay was a billion-dollar company with tens of millions of users. And eBay's auction model allowed sellers to create listings of items that buyers could bid on. But initially, eBay didn't have a robust payment service built into its platform. And so to complete transactions, buyers and sellers often used cash, money orders, checks, and wire transfers. So PayPal and X.com's email payment services were incredible for eBay users, as it made it so much easier and faster to handle
synergistic with each other, so that's why.
All eBay sellers had to do was create an account on
eBay
either
was super
PayPal or
popular,
X.com
then you put
and mention
PayPal
in
and
their auction listings that they take payments via these services. And back then, neither PayPal or X even charged any transaction fee. In fact, the opposite. Both companies paid.
Back in the day when I know banks were doing a whole bunch of transaction fees. It's always been part of their business model.
new users for signing up and for referring others. So eBay sellers realized if they referred buyers to PayPal or X, they'd make even more money on every item they sold. It was win-win. And so thousands of eBay users started using PayPal or X.com. By late January 2000, PayPal had more than 100,000 users on its platform, and X.com wasn't far behind. This soon became 200,000 users, and it was clear the battleground had shifted to the—
Alright, so they're battling, they're enemies, they're in the same business. How do they become one? Why do they join forces? Why does Elon Musk join the PayPal people if he already has X, right? I think this is something we need to pay attention to.
Once again,
it's gonna happen.
neither company had planned that eBay users would be such a big part of their business. And initially, neither company had done any advertising to attract eBay customers. eBay users had simply adopted PayPal and X.com themselves because it made sense. But once both PayPal and X realized this demand, it allowed both companies to tap into an existing network where there was a clear use case for their email payment services. And thus, both companies went all in on marketing to eBay users. PayPal created tools and tutorials to help people offer PayPal on their auctions, and days after PayPal started chasing eBay users, X did the same thing. Whenever one of them tried to offer a new feature, the other would always try to quickly copy or improve upon it, both trying to one-up each other in the race to become eBay's #1 payment service. The rivalry began to intensify. The PayPal team brought out a cake with the words "Die X.com" written in frosting, whilst Elon personally sent emails to his team about the need to kill PayPal. Both companies worked tirelessly during this period, literally sleeping under their desks.
Right.
Everyone was exhausted and
they get together, bro?
limits,
what happens?
But they were also excited to be building something they believed in. However, whilst it may seem that PayPal and X.com were on an incredible growth trajectory, their balance sheets told a very unpleasant story. Because of the sign-up and referral bonuses, along with the lack of any real revenue model, both companies were losing money at a rapid pace.
Well, that's what modern companies do. They'll have a great product, they'll sell it super cheap, bring people in, get the referral process, get the biggest market possible, and then they monetize. And that's exactly how the consumer gets.
Users who joined, the more money they lost.
Brutally.
For example, PayPal had to pay a 2% fee on every credit card transaction and was bleeding almost $100,000 every day. To make matters worse, PayPal had promised users its basic service would remain free forever, because their plan was to make money from selling business accounts with extra features. But that would be a long, slow process to eventually recoup all the money they were spending to get customers, and PayPal was starting to worry they'd run out of cash before that happened. And if PayPal backtracked and started charging users now, they worried everyone would just use X.com instead. Meanwhile, right next door, X.com was facing the exact same issue.
Going through the same problem.
Elon's strategy was a little different. He was happy to provide the email payment system at a loss indefinitely, believing that customers would also use X.com's other financial services, like the checking accounts and brokerage, where the fees were profitable. But the reality was, users just didn't seem that interested in these other features, as they could already get those from their traditional banks, which they trusted more. So, both companies continued to lose more and more money as they raced to get more eBay users for their unprofitable email payment services. PayPal had a small lead in terms of users, but Peter and Max were extremely nervous. They could see X.com catching up to PayPal and knew that X had more funding. To ensure PayPal didn't go bankrupt, they needed to do something drastic to survive. And thus, one day, Peter Thiel walked to the office next door to have a secret meeting with Elon Musk.
Oh, okay, so this is where the pivot happens. Let's see.
You're trying to get off nicotine pouches, give these a try. What is going on, guys? Dr. Mike here. Today I want to present Ultra pouches.
I have an Ultra pouch in my mouth right now. Pretty fire, not gonna lie. It's better than the alternative.
Elon was confident that X.com would emerge victorious in this battle. He had more money than PayPal and could raise more if needed. So in his mind, there was no way X.com would end up on the losing side. But Bill Harris, who was X.com's CEO, didn't share Elon's optimism. He thought both companies were spiraling towards mutual destruction. In Bill's view, the online payment market was only big enough for—
They were just spending a whole bunch of cash. That's probably why they ended up joining forces. They're like, hey, we're doing the same thing. Maybe we should, if we join forces, it'll be better.
Player, and so he felt the two companies would be much better off by merging together. and thus a meeting was arranged with the two most influential people from both companies, Max Levchin and Peter Thiel from the Confinity team, who were building PayPal, and Elon Musk and Bill Harris from X.com. Despite being fierce rivals, everyone could see the logic of having one dominant payment company instead of two competing companies. However, it's fair to say Elon was not particularly on board with the idea of a merger. He believed that X.com would crush PayPal eventually, and that merging wasn't necessary. But Bill persuaded Elon to at least explore the idea. The mood in the meeting was tense, and it soon got worse. Elon's first offer was that X should acquire PayPal, and that the PayPal team would receive just 8% of the combined value of the companies.
Damn.
This extremely lowball offer shocked Peter and Max, who left the meeting almost immediately. It seemed like the deal was a lost cause, and so the PayPal team pushed harder than ever to gain more users, which of course sent them closer and closer to bankruptcy. But as PayPal's users grew, the acquisition offers from X.com kept increasing. After some further negotiations, Elon eventually agreed to come down to a 55-45 split, which PayPal felt was much fairer. In fact, they were literally ready to agree to the merger, and then the big egos on both sides of the deal almost killed it. Elon made a comment to Max about how he was getting a steal, implying their deal was much better for PayPal. Max was furious by this and left. Max then argued that the only way this merger could work is if they became genuine partners, which meant an even 50-50 split instead. Elon was ready to back out of the deal completely because of this, and continue their brutal fight. But then X's CEO, Bill Harris, dropped a bombshell. He told Elon that if X didn't merge with PayPal, he'd resign. Bill believed it was unclear which side would win, and it'd take a huge amount of time and resources to figure it out, so merging the two companies was the only thing that made sense. And thus, Bill was giving Elon an ultimatum. But given X.com was right in the middle of a funding round, having their CEO leave right now would look disastrous for the company. So feeling like he had no choice, Elon agreed to the 50-50 terms, and in February 2000, two companies officially merged together. The company kept the name X.com, which Elon loved, but it kept Confinity's PayPal name for the email payment system, as users had become attached to that. Elon, the largest shareholder, took the role of chairman, whilst Bill retained his position as CEO. Peter Thiel was made senior vice president of finance and was responsible for finding investors, and Max continued his role as CTO. The battle for the eBay marketplace seemed like it was finally over. Thanks to the merger, they could make a powerful pitch to investors. One united payment company that no longer had any major competition. By combining their user bases, they could go on to dominate the entire online payments market.
Like a monopoly.
Because instead of competing with each other for customers, they could now focus on other serious issues, like generating revenue and reducing operating costs. And so at first, it seemed everything had worked out perfectly. PayPal continued to attract 12,000 new users per day, and Peter even secured a record $100 million in funding just in time before the dot-com bubble burst and many other internet companies went bankrupt. With $100 million in the bank and a growing customer base of 1 million PayPal users by the end of March 2000, it seemed like the company's future looked very bright.
And we all know,
however,
it was very bright.
The actual reality was very different. Under the surface, several even bigger problems were bubbling up. Firstly, actually merging their systems together was not going to be straightforward. X.com and Confinity had entirely different user bases and websites, whilst X had been built on Microsoft Windows and Confinity's PayPal was built on Linux. Not just that, but internally at the company, the merger meant the business now had duplicates in some roles. Like both X and Confinity had someone who oversaw finance. But now that they'd merged, two people were effectively doing the same job. PayPal was also receiving thousands of customer service calls a day, which it simply couldn't handle. At one point, they literally just unhooked the phone lines, although this resulted in someone thinking PayPal was keeping their money hostage. So he showed up at the PayPal office with a gun to demand his money. After the merger, the company also became much slower and less efficient, with decisions taking way longer, and many employees being unsure who they were even meant to report to. It didn't help that the two companies had been such fierce rivals, and now everyone was supposed to get along as one happy family. The reality was the PayPal side and the X.com side still felt separated, even though they were officially on the same team now. And it wasn't long before cracks began to appear in the relationship between X.com executives. For example, Peter wasn't impressed with some of Bill's decisions as CEO. Bill was keen to end the referral bonus and start charging customers for using PayPal, even though they'd always promised to be a free service. But Peter disagreed, and also disliked that Bill seemed to be introducing more meetings and formality within the company. Eventually, Peter Thiel resigned. Peter's resignation sent a shockwave through the organization,
I didn't know this.
And it was soon clear that Peter wasn't the only one who had issues with Bill's leadership. Both Elon and Max had a lot of concerns about how slowly new features were being rolled out after the merger. Elon in particular felt Bill was focusing too much on PayPal and not on his bigger X.com vision. He also felt Bill was hiring too many executives from traditional finance, the same kind of people who worked at the banks Elon wanted to disrupt. But perhaps most importantly, Elon had never forgiven Bill for the ultimatum that had forced this merger in the first place. All of this, along with Peter's departure, meant that Elon Musk, Max Levchin, and a couple of other high-ranking executives had all come to the same conclusion. They needed to overthrow Bill as CEO.
Okay.
Behind Bill's back, the rebels secretly conspired to go to the board with an ultimatum. Either remove Bill as CEO, or we're all resigning. Since Elon and Max both had board seats of their own, they only had a few other board members to convince. And so, before Bill could do anything about it, he was forced to step down as leader. In May 2000, after a successful coup, Peter Thiel returned as chairman, and Elon Musk retook the title of CEO.
Okay, so that's what happened. Interesting. That's good ball knowledge to have.
But before we get to the next chapter, it's time to answer a question I get a lot.
What?
How can you make your own YouTube video, day sponsors, and draw the director out with a simple, with any change? And if
this
your
guy's
millions of
editing.
royal
It's
save you a
top
lot
tier.
of twice the number of
I get
videos
he
to the
needs to
story.
do this for money. I'm gonna do the same thing if I ever get monetized, right? But oh yeah.
With Bill gone, Peter back in the mix, and Elon calling the shots, it finally seemed like the internal battles had been settled and PayPal could continue expanding. However, keeping PayPal free forever wasn't going to work, as it cost PayPal millions in credit card transaction fees to process payments. And so in the summer of 2000, they introduced paid business and premier accounts, which offered more features than the standard free accounts. In exchange for a 1.9% transaction fee, you could get benefits like a dedicated 24-hour customer service hotline and automatic balance withdrawals to your bank account. A week after the launch of their premium services, PayPal had more than 9,000 premium customers.
Ooh, good revenue.
For the first time in PayPal's history, they were generating a small amount of revenue. But then suddenly, a new enemy appeared that threatened PayPal's entire existence: eBay. You see, at first, eBay
They were
had been
working
fine
well
with
together.
PayPal, since they were making payments easier, which meant more people were using eBay. But by the end of 2000, half of all eBay listings had PayPal as their preferred payment option. And eBay had realized they were missing out on a lot of money by not handling all those payments themselves directly. PayPal was essentially running the cash register on eBay's store. eBay had already bought their own payment system called BillPoint. And even though payments wasn't eBay's main business, they felt like every sale that went through PayPal stole a little bit of income from them.
Greedy
So
fucks.
throughout the year, eBay began trying everything they could to get its users to switch to BillPoint instead of PayPal. Firstly,
But think
eBay
about it.
restricted logo
What
sizes
company-
on listings, making the PayPal logo hard to
What company isn't a greedy fuck? They all are, bro. And it's in their best interest to be that way. It's incentivized to be greedy economic asshole.
find in a user's description. But PayPal responded by designing tools to help its users resize their logos and stay within the guidelines. Next, eBay automatically
minute.
enrolled new auctions into the
I got
BillPoint
things to do.
system.
What's up,
meaning
little
that
one?
unless you found the obscure
I realized that I have to take you to box in 30 minutes. Flexing. Flexion, bro. There's literally no viewers, so it's fine. You getting ready for box or what?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool beans. Honestly, I think that's it. 'Cause I have things to do. Apparently, yeah. PayPal versus eBay, the coup. Ah, this is the interesting part. Okay, we'll skip to the coup. Okay, they go against eBay. Let's see.
If you were sexually abused while in a juvenile detention facility, you may be
Never
entitled
been to a juvenile detention facility?
$580,000 or more.
I ain't
idea
black.
for the company. Maybe he could now start expanding X.com more with the other financial services like he'd always wanted.
Okay.
But little did he know, within PayPal, whispers were going on behind the scenes. And very soon, he'd be kicked out of the company entirely.
What? The coup.
Part of the reason PayPal had grown so much faster than any competitors was that it had offered such generous welcome bonuses and made it extremely easy to join and use its services.
Okay.
But PayPal did not have proper verification and screening processes in place.
I
It soon
love it.
became clear that this had created an insane amount of fraud and scams.
Of course.
One PayPal employee admitted, "We would be issuing lines of credit to people that either weren't real people or had stolen someone else's identity." There were people joining with names like Mickey Mouse and somehow managing to get access to lines of credit and make payments. Plus, every single X.com user got sent a checkbook and debit card, despite the fact many of them weren't real people. Fraudsters had also written code that could open large amounts of new accounts in bulk, so they could claim the welcome and referral bonuses over and over again. Not just that, but PayPal was being used by shell companies and people with stolen credit cards. Many believed PayPal made it easier for criminals to funnel money around the world, giving it a bad reputation in the
100% they
media.
did.
Scammers
they
could
crypto
even
did
use
as well.
PayPal to accept payments and then simply cash the money out before sending the buyer anything. And thus, PayPal was losing a staggering amount of money in fraud and fees, which meant Elon Musk and Max Levchin were arguing more and more often. Max was worried that the amount of fraud could destroy PayPal, but Elon seemed more preoccupied with his original vision for an all-in-one financial platform. In fact, Elon decided to create a newer version of PayPal called PayPal 2.0 that would offer all kinds of financial services in the future, just like he originally wanted for X.com. He ordered his engineering team to stop
his original vision. He wants to keep pushing it. Okay.
adding new features and updates to the original PayPal website and start building PayPal 2.0. Many employees at the company were not happy with this sudden change. While Peter and Max wanted to focus on PayPal as their main service, Elon still wanted to create a digital superbank. The tension was made worse by a crucial software disagreement. Elon wanted to use Microsoft, which X.com's site had been built on, whereas Max wanted Linux, which PayPal was currently built on. Elon reportedly suggested they should decide this huge decision over an arm wrestling contest.
That's kind of fucking ridiculous. Also, how is it built on Linux? There has to be a reason for that, no?
There were pros and cons for both options, and the company was divided, but ultimately, Elon got his way. The engineers spent months rewriting the code to work for Windows,
that must be
which many thought was a waste of time, where they could have instead been working on new features and improvements. And thus, PayPal 2.0 caused a rift in the company and hurt morale. Meanwhile, costs were spiraling, and the business still didn't have a clear plan to profitability. However, perhaps Elon's most controversial decision, the one that completely soured his relationship with Peter and Max, was to kill the PayPal brand. Elon wanted PayPal to be renamed X-PayPal, because he believed PayPal was just one of many services under X.com, and shouldn't be the company's main focus. He even ordered that all references to PayPal be removed from the website, and that typing in paypal.com would instead redirect users to X.com. Likewise, instead of wearing PayPal merch around the office, Elon handed out X-Rocks, t-shirts, mugs, and frisbees. But a lot of the team believed that their customers preferred the PayPal name to anything X-related. Some outright refused to update the website, saying they'd rather be fired first than kill off their brand. Peter and Max also opposed this decision openly. They argued that PayPal had created brand loyalty, and these changes would risk losing their customers' hard-won trust.
For sure.
However, Elon had already made up his mind. Max Levchin, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, and several other influential team members all reached the same conclusion. Elon Musk needed to be fired as CEO. Thus, for the second time, a group of executives within the company conspired to overthrow their own
going thing
CEO.
In PayPal.
However, unlike
they just kick out their CEOs. Interesting. Alright, so they kick him out for that. What's the epilogue? What does he finish on? Because I do have things to do soon. I'm going to finish this stream. Didn't realize that when I started. Come on, load. What's going on here? Is it all
For many of its earliest employees, PayPal became a crash course in how to build a startup. And thanks to the lessons they learned, PayPal employees went on to be involved in some of the world's biggest tech companies. Engineers Steve Chen, Jawed Karim, and Chad Hurley left PayPal to co-found YouTube. Reid Hoffman, executive vice president at PayPal, founded LinkedIn. Peter Thiel became Facebook's first outside investor. Russell Simmons and Jerry Stoppelman co-founded Yelp. Elon Musk went on to build SpaceX and Tesla, fund OpenAI, and bought Twitter, which finally gave him a reason to reuse the X.com domain name he'd bought. And many more of PayPal's team became investors.
look at that main circle right there. You have YouTube, Yelp, Facebook, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's so gay. I hate that thing so much. I'm so glad I've never had to use it, and I don't plan on going to the corporate world, so I really, really hope I don't have to use it into the future because it's so gay. So bad. It's terrible. I hate it. But peer-to-peer founding, not founding Facebook, but you know, providing that money. One of the initial rounds of investing, I believe he was a part of. And you have Elon Musk, who has a high level of pedigree as well. So that's insane.
In prominent startups, or became high-level executives at major companies. Either in public or behind the scenes, PayPal's alumni have been involved in almost all major Silicon Valley companies. As a result, Fortune released an article in 2007 that nicknamed the group the PayPal Mafia, a reference to how much influence
for a whole bunch of nerds. That is such a cool fucking name that they got. They lucked on that for sure. They could have had some gay ass fucking name, but no, they got a cool one. But props on them for that, at least, you know? That's okay. That's whatever. But let's finish with some Tyler Childers, bro.
To put it plain, I just don't like you. Not a thing about the way you is. And if there ever come a time I got rabies, you're high on my biting list. To put it plain, I just don't like you. Not a thing about the way you is. And if there ever come a time I got rabies, you're high on my biting list. Yeah, you're high on the list. People get rid if they gave me.
That's a banger. That's the only kind of country music I like. Oh, appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Deuces. Just chatting.